I'm going to tell you a way that your parents are different than mine. There's many ways, but this is the biggest one that stands out to me. Your parents took you to perform at illegal raves. Never happened with me.
Right.
And I heard that fact and I thought, this is really interesting because you were young at the time. They were taking you to illegal raves. This is the kind of, these are parents who really, they were out of their comfort zone, especially your mom, to go to a rave and to take you to this world is a level of support that to me feels phenomenal.
Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously at the time I was like, can you guys wait outside? You're like cramping my style. I was like so ungrateful in a way. Because who wants to go to the rave with their parents? Like it's so fucking embarrassing.
Especially when they jump on stage.
It's like you're like, oh God. But like also I will say they were very, very respectful of my space and stuff when we went. And yes, now with hindsight, I'm like, wow, that is so cool of them. Like they didn't have to do that. Like they kind of like drove me up there and would sort of like hang out in the back. And this is like late stuff. This is like I would go on at 4 a.m. You know what I mean? Like, and they were like so kind of cool of them to do that. I will say, like, when I said to them that I really had this big plan to like move in with one of the rave promoters when I was 16 in a warehouse in Hackney Wick, they drew the line there and they were like, that sounds like a bad idea. And I was like, does it? I think it sounds amazing. And they were like, no. So they were supportive.
I like them even more now.
I know,
They did draw the line.
Yeah, they're great. And I think it's cool. It's like my dad was very much kind of like a self-made guy. He like worked like super hard his whole life, like working class background, like really kind of like did his thing and did everything that he could to kind of have, more for himself. And I think he was very much like with the whole rave stuff, he was kind of like, oh, like if you're really passionate about this, then you should go and perform because maybe then you can do that for real. And I think most parents would kind of be like, you shouldn't do that. That feels unreliable and stressful. And why don't you pursue something else? But I think he was always a bit of a dreamer, which sounds like a horrid sort of cheesy thing to say, but he really was. And so I think for him, it was like, oh, if you're passionate about something, that's really cool. Like, let's try and like figure that out. And I feel very, very, very lucky for that. It's very cool.
Do you ever say to yourself, I could have been a really good tax attorney?
All the time. All the time, yeah.
Because when I was watching your movie, I was like, I'm sorry. I said, she's amazing, but tax attorney.
I know.
And we don't have a lot of them.
I know. Yeah, my side hustle.
It would be so great if that was your side hustle. After a massive show, where are you going? Well, I've got to go over these.
Yeah. Crunching the numbers.
W2.
Yeah. As a kid, you were listening to Spice Girls, No Doubt, Britney Spears, and then at some point, at a young age, you start thinking about writing yourself, and that is a leap. What does the early writing for you look like? Is it, pen and paper and trying to write things out in a book, or is it playing around with a musical instrument?
It was a lot of keyboard, playing the keyboard and kind of I had like this Yamaha keyboard, and I was like making a lot of kind of beats on there, and then recording kind of separately all the different layers. So yeah, it was kind of like writing lyrics and then trying to figure out chords, and very much like piano orientated. And I think it all began because I had this boyfriend who turned out to be gay, and honestly all the signs were so there. He was like the coolest, and like not many, like, you know what I mean, not many like 15-year-old boys are like that cool, and he was like so cool. He had great style, great taste. He made me a mixtape of stuff that I had like never heard before. And I think it was like, that was kind of like the moment where I was like, oh, like he kind of like opened my eyes to all of these different artists that I hadn't really been listening to that much before, like some kind of indie bands, and then like stuff like Gang of Four, and like I don't know, like a lot of stuff that I had not really, like it hadn't been on my radar. And at that point I think I kind of had the hunger to try and write things myself a bit more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, step number one is always you have to put stuff into the machine. You have to open up your head and a volume of not just a type of music, but every type of music. And they call it having big ears, but just the more stuff you're listening to at an early age, I swear to God, they're going to figure out that it happens almost on a neurological level. You can redirect, your synapses can grow.
Right.
You can teach yourself that it's a big musical world out there and it becomes part of you, but a lot of it's just osmosis. It's just listening. And something that really interests me about your career, which is there's so many ways that I can't relate to what you do. I admire it, but I can't relate to it. And one thing I can relate to is that I started as a writer, and I would write for other people, and I would write things for other voices, and I listened and watched a lot of comedy, but then I would write for someone, a known performer. And I did that for years before I sort of solidified my thing. And I know early on you're writing for a lot of other people, and that was your way in. And in some ways it's helpful because you can observe. You're clearly, crazy intelligent. You could observe other people, how they're living, what it's like to be a huge star, and you can stand off of it for a little bit and participate, but not get the full blast right away. Does that sound right? Kind
of. It's interesting. It's like there is this misconception that I was writing for people first. I actually made a record first, and it was really, really good, and it was like critically acclaimed, but it sold about, honestly, like 11 copies. It was like really... like no one bought it, basically. Yeah. No one bought it. No one really heard of it, apart from like the 5 people who reviewed it. Love them, But like, and there was like a small fan base of people who were into it. It was called True Romance. And I was signed at that time to Atlantic Records, and I'm pretty sure they would have dropped me like there and then after that album. And at this point in time, this is like 2012. I could be so wrong, 2013. But this was like a point in time where like record labels had so much more power over an artist and their career, and whether they could even have a career. I mean, I think it's so different now, but back then it was like, especially being a woman making pop music, it was like if you didn't have a label, like forget about it. You know what I mean? But right at the kind of end of that album campaign, it wasn't even a campaign, it just came out, whatever. Like, I wrote this song called I Love It, which was sung by this Swedish band called Iconopop. Yep. And that became a big song. And I think that started my career of writing for others. Yes. And if I hadn't had that, then it probably would have been, accountant or whatever for me. Tax.
Listen, and let me point out, there's still time.
I know.
And I know a guy who can help you.
Great.
And I know your team doesn't like what I'm taking you down. But
they love it. I mean, it's responsible.
If you would take 3 years off, just hear me out. First law school, we'll do it later.
Good.